Hey guys, this is Danny Boy. So I want to make a quick video expressing my views of Inferno, basically. Like, this is what the problem with Inferno is. Number one, I mean, the champions and the uniques are incredibly slow to kill. All they've really done is just... This is how I like to think of it. This is how they've balanced the difficulty in this game. They balanced it a lot. If you've played this game, if you played The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, that is how this game is balanced in the improving difficulties. Rather than actually really adding more tactics or strategies or whatever, all they've really done is made enemies take an ungodly amount of time to kill and do an ungodly amount of damage. So basically you just need to not get hit and you need to just whittle things down. I'm doing okay right now, but against, you know, uniques and champions, they just take an ungodly amount of time to kill. So there's that. That's one of the problems. It's just boring. It takes so long that it's boring. Now, on top of that, they have made them have, you know, a ton of affixes and suffixes and whatever, but a lot of them are just incredibly cheap and, again, are not very strategic. For example, if you've gotten anything Vortex or Nightmarish for the melee classes, Nightmarish isn't a huge deal for the range classes, but for the melee classes, losing control of your character when there's nothing you can do about it is not real difficult. It's crap. It's fake difficulty. If there's nothing a player can do about something, barring popping a vulnerability ability, like I happen to have this, I have Spirit Walk, so I can maybe survive if I get pulled into, you know, Vortex into a Desecrate field or a Plague field or whatever, or an Arcane Enchantment field and just instantly die. I mean, I have one chance every 15 seconds to possibly survive that. But a lot of classes don't even have that luxury. That is not hard, that's just asinine. It's not the same thing, and Blizzard doesn't seem to have realized this. You know, it's just cheap and cheesy. It's what freaking developers did 20 years ago when AI sucked, and they had no other way of actually allowing their players to have a challenge. They just freaking cheated or invented incredibly asinine crap that you just relied on random chance to survive. I mean, it's just cheap. In addition to that, because you are locked down to 6 abilities, you don't really scale laterally. You're not given a ton of different strategic choices and abilities to use as time goes on that have a tremendous amount of depth to them. With the way that the game is balanced, basically all you have is freaking just... And I'm sorry that this is a rant and I'm rambling and what have you, but this is just basically what's happened and how I viewed the game as time has gone on into Inferno. This is Inferno, by the way, that I'm playing on. This is level 60 Witch Doctor. Just, you only have 6 abilities, and the way the game's balanced, a lot of the abilities, as time goes on, simply do not scale or are just completely outshined by the other abilities. Just with the way that the weapon coefficients work. They just are straight out outperformed by other abilities, so you're stuck using an optimized build as time goes on, because the way the game's balanced, it's so incredibly tedious, and the scaling is so ridiculous. If you're not using an optimized build, for the most part, and it depends on the class. Some classes have more variety than other classes, but like the Wizard, for example, from everything I've seen, they have very few choices ultimately if they want to actually succeed in Inferno. The Witch Doctor, from the different builds I've used, seems to have at least 2, possibly 3 that are actually viable, but they're still a better build than the other builds. And like my Rain Man build that I posted a video about, it's viable, you can use it, but it's way harder to use than what I'm using right now, which is just spam the level 1 ability with one of the first rooms of the game you unlock, and occasionally use Dire Bats on crowds, and then... Actually, I haven't been using my Gargantuan. I have my Gargantuan up with Bad Medicine to give me some more damage reduction, and I'm actually using Fierce Loyalty, just trying to experiment with it to see if I can get him to the point that he's survivable. And he is with just a modicum of health regeneration, so that's at least interesting. But there aren't many builds that you can actually use in a game with, I don't know, what is it? I don't actually know how many abilities I have. 4, 8, 12, so 15 abilities with 5 runes each. So you're talking, oh, what, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75 or so different combinations, when you're talking at most 3 or so viable builds, and most of those builds have an overlap, and they all use survivability cooldowns. All that's really changing in those builds is your primary source of damage. Otherwise, everybody's going to use Spirit Walk with Healing Journey. Everybody's going to use Soul Harvest with either Vengeful Spirit or probably Siphon Life for the most part. I mean, maybe you might use Swallow Your Soul. I mean, I use it early in the game, but at the end of the game, there's really no reason to use anything but Soul Harvest for an extra survivability cooldown, or really just Vengeful Spirit for more damage. On top of that, like, I mean, most classes, the Barbarian, I know my friend's playing, he's basically stacking, 4 survivability cooldowns, and then maybe changing what primary he uses depending on different things. But for most of the game, he was using the same stuff. It's frustrating. There's so many different things here, yet you're very limited in what you can actually use in Inferno and be viable and actually slog through it. Because it's already incredibly tedious, and you're just plugging through it, hoping to get through. And that leads me to the biggest problem with Inferno, and that is that the primary thing that gives you longevity in video games, or not video games, but hack and slash games, what makes you want to keep playing this game after the fact is the gear. And Legendaries are so incredibly rare that, I still haven't found one. I've gone through 3 playthroughs and I still haven't found one. Of all of my friends, I think we have found maybe 3. And of my friends' friends, and you're talking hardcore gamers that have played this game way more than anybody else at this point. You're talking people that were gladiators in WoW and have been playing this game non-stop. I'm gonna die. Another example, I'm facing a mortar with a jailer and a desecrator. That is not real difficulty. That is, there's nothing I can freaking do. Mortar, jail, I don't even know what is this other thing. Desecrator, jailer, nightmarish, mortar. There's just nothing you can freaking do beyond just praying to burst these guys down. And it's to the point, I'm not even going to attempt this. There's just no way. I'm not even going to attempt it. The only way this would be possible for me is if I had the gear to actually do it. But I tell you what, I have no desire to go grind gear in Act 4 Hell. I already did it once. I ground 4 Act 4 Hell. I had stacks. I had 5 stacks on the stupid Magic Find buff. But in the entire thing, I found some things to sell. I found maybe one item that I could use, and it was a belt that freaking replaced... It was this belt. This is the only thing I found in the entire run that I could even use. It's a level 57 belt, and this is with the most of the time having 5 stacks of the champion thing. And I found a few rares, none of which were usable for me. I didn't find any legendaries, of course. Killed Iswal with 5 stacks of it, didn't find anything, didn't even find a rare on him. And I found this belt, which replaced a level 36 belt. So that's why it was even a freaking upgrade. Blizzard, I guess, doesn't understand that, at least if you play Diablo 2, you do not want to freaking go through the game and upgrade with blues and rares the entire game and never find legendaries, never find sets. And the reason they did this is because they want those items to be incredibly rare and sell for a ton on the real money auction house, and that way they get a bigger cut of it. It's just, I can't think of any other reason. It's just, honestly, and maybe I'm wrong, but that has to be a part of it. I just don't know how else to explain it. And it's just ridiculous at this point. I have no desire to go through Inferno because I know I'm not going to find anything that I actually care about. I don't have levels anymore. I don't have the rune system. The rune system is really cool, but once you don't get runes anymore, and once you're locked into these just optimized builds, because that's the only way you can even play Inferno, there's no reason to play anymore. I'm going to go roll a Demon Hunter now and start playing him, because that's the only part of the game that's actually fun. Leveling up, getting new runes and whatever, and just knowing that I'm never going to find a legendary anywhere, or if I do, it'll be outpaced in seconds. Right now on the auction house, let's go take a peek. Right now on the auction house, the highest DPS weapon in the entire that anybody has found, and he's selling it for like 10 million gold, which is idiotic. Dude, nobody in the game has 10 million gold right now. That's never going to sell. Don't be stupid. Don't be freaking greedy. And it's like 1,000 DPS weapon. How do I even find it? Search. I have used this auction house incredibly minimally right now, so apologies. Let me actually find it, and then we'll come back. Here it is. Here it is, dude. Here it freaking is. The best items in the entire game, people having them selling them for millions of gold. This thing is 1,000 DPS poison weapon, and it's a freaking blue. Then we have some rares, and then again, freaking blues. Like, it's just ridiculous. There are no legendaries here for the best weapons in the game. And if you actually go on the databases, nothing compares to this. It's nonsense. It's like Diablo 2 before Throne of Baal, only even worse. Because at least you could find set items, the low-level sets. At least you could find low-level uniques. And the best stuff before the first expansion was rares. The best stuff in this game are freaking blues. I mean, I'm going to town and have to actually look through the blues that I find to just see if they're upgrades. And I'm in Inferno. Whereas in the previous game, you wouldn't even pick up blues after a while because it was pointless. I can even show you how many rares I'm even using. I have, of course, no legendaries, no sets. I'm using a blue dagger and a blue offhand as my primary weapons. Then I have a couple of rares here. Freaking just socketed for vitality so I can even survive. I mean, most of what I'm using is blues right now, and I'm in Act 1 Inferno. It's just ridiculous. I'm sorry, guys, for the rant, But I mean, I'm to the point that I'm absolutely not going to play this until I'm playing with friends. Because until my friend, they're at the end of hell, so I'll be playing with them soon, ideally. But I have no desire to go play Inferno when I have no carrot on a stick to even look forward to. The whole point of hack and slash games, and carrot on a stick development is awful, ultimately, but it makes players do ridiculous things for very little gain, and it's just an incredibly poor use of a player's time. But hack and slash games are carrot on a stick games. I have no runes to look forward to. I have no gear that I give a damn about. I have nothing to look forward to beyond beating Inferno for the sake of Inferno. And Inferno is not fun. It's grindy and slow and tedious, and for me to even progress at this point, I need to go freaking grind like Act 4 Hell or just the beginning of Inferno over and over again, and attempt to even get gear to allow me to progress, or buy stuff off the AH, or whatever. It's ridiculous. So that's what I feel about it. Maybe you guys think differently, and you're having a blast or whatever, but it's really bad. They made some massive mistakes of this game, and there's other things I dislike about it, but that's probably by far the worst. So thanks guys for watching. Stay tuned for more, and just have a good one. I'm out, guys.